Hey tea heads, this is Don from Mayleaf. In this video, I'm going to be giving you a practical step-by-step tutorial in how to brew tea. Gongfu tea can seem very complicated. You've got all of these different pots, different teaware, different styles of brewing, all of the different equipment that you can geek out on. And of course, we've done many masterclass videos discussing the intricacies of shape and material and how you pour your water, how long you should brew your tea for. All of that geekery you can dive deep in, and it's a lifetime of learning. But tea at its heart should be simple. So let's strip this all back and just focus on a bowl and some leaf. So let's pretend you have no Gongfu equipment, you've got no teaware at all. Most people will have a small bowl in their home, right? So bowl brewing is the most basic, is the most simple, and you can brew delicious tea just with bowl brewing. Before I dive in, I want to say a few things. The first is that I am not going to be giving too much explanation in this video. This is going to be more of a practical step-by-step guide. So if you want to dive more into the detail of why we use a certain amount of leaf, why the temperatures of water change, then go check out our other videos. I'll put links to our masterclasses in the description below. The second thing I'd like to say is that the guidelines that I'm going to be presenting today are intentionally generalized. They are a starting point from which you can explore and experiment. I want this video to be a basic, practical, step-by-step tutorial for everybody, including beginners. So I'm not going to make things excessively complicated. And the third thing I'd like to say is, obviously, the most important thing here at the beginning is that you find high quality tea. The highest quality tea that you can find. The higher the quality, the better your tea, no matter how you brew it. Right. Bowl. Super simple. If you want to do bowl brewing, then follow these guidelines in terms of weights of tea that you should use per 100 ml of water. And these guidelines in terms of temperature of water that I would advise as a starting point. Obviously, explore. I'm not going to be doing Western brewing today. Western brewing is using a very small amount of leaf to water ratio and brewing it for 3 to 4 minutes before straining out the leaves and throwing the leaves away. I don't really like Western style brewing. So we're going to start with bowl brewing. And it's very simple. You have your bowl, you have your leaf. Feel free to warm your bowl up if you would like to beforehand. That way you can get more aromatics out of the leaf as the heat causes those volatiles to evaporate. And then you want to pour the water, try to pour it in a circular motion, and the way that you do that is actually holding your kettle relatively still, finding a spot on the wall of the bowl and allowing that water to naturally form a circular motion. Now, the amount of leaf that you use depends on how much water you're planning to put in. The guidelines that I've given you are for 100 ml of water, which I think is a great quantity as a sort of starting point when you are drinking by yourself. So the first thing to do is try to work out how much 100 ml is. Now you can take your bowl with your leaf and put it on top of a scale and then pour whilst looking at the scale, and 100 grams of water is approximately 100 ml of water. But tea should not be about looking at digital scales. Tea should be about feel. So what I advise you to do is you can take a bowl, the bowl that you're planning to use, measure out 100 ml of water, put it in the bowl and just sort of get a visual sort of idea of where 100 ml is, and then just take it from there. Don't get too hung up on it. Just, allow feel to be a part of your Gongfu brewing, because if you don't, then, you're always going to be relying on those digital numbers to guide you. So here we go. We're not going to be doing a rinse. This is super simple bowl brewing. I'm just going to be pouring in one area, and then once the leaves start moving, you can then increase. And once you got to this point, if there's a few leaves that are still not submerged, then just a little drizzle of water over those just to dunk them under the surface. Right, now you're leaving the tea to infuse for as long as you feel you want the tea to infuse. I'd like this to be about feel, but I would recommend something in the region of a minute. We are using less leaf to water ratio than we will in Gongfu Brewing, in strict Gongfu Brewing, which is going to be moving into the next step. So you want to leave it for a little while. Some people may refer to this as grandpa brewing, because what you are doing is essentially leaving the leaves in the water, and while you're drinking it, the leaves are continuing to infuse. So it's going to continue to build up strength even while you are drinking. But again, the point here is feel should start to develop. You should start to smell the liquor. If you're using a white colored bowl, then you can assess the color of the liquor. When you are ready to drink, you are just literally picking it up and drinking direct from the bowl. Now there will be leaves that are touching your lip, but you just blow them away and then sip the tea. Blow them away, sip the tea. Now some teas will float to the surface, others will quite quickly move to the bottom of the bowl, which will make it obviously easier when you are drinking. And you can brew delicious bowls of tea in this way, and it's a lovely, simple, comforting way to drink tea. There is something so beautiful about the pared down simplicity of bowl brewing and the tactile feeling of a warm bowl in your hands. I highly recommend that you try bowl brewing if you've not tried it before. Now, if the tea starts to get too strong because it's still infusing and still extracting, then you can just top up with more water. That's the grandpa style of brewing. Just top up, use extra water to dilute the tea. If you finish the tea, then of course you can leave it and you can reinfuse later. There's no rush. You don't have to reinfuse it immediately, and you just use the same method, just pouring it so it moves into a circular motion, and just drink when you feel it is ready. Of course, you're going to potentially eat a few leaves. That's no bad thing either. As long as you've got high quality leaves, that's fine too. So that's bowl brewing, but what if you want to move up to Gongfu Brewing, but you don't have any gear? Well, then get yourself 2 bowls and ideally a strainer. It doesn't have to be a particular fine strainer like this. Any strainer will do. 2 bowls and a strainer and a little plate if you can. I have here duck shit oolong, a delicious Dansong oolong. Now, with Gongfu Brewing, we're going to increase the leaf to water ratio. So these are my guidelines of how much leaf you should be using per 100 ml of water. The temperature stays the same. I'm just going to briefly warm this bowl and another bowl just to help the aromatics. Now pour that away in the sink. So preheat your bowls, ideally, not essential, but it is nice for that aroma to really hit you. And then we're gonna be pouring the leaves into the bowl. Again, take your time. Breathe in that lovely, creamy almond and cherry notes of this duck shit oolong. So this is very, very simple Gongfu brewing. All of you Gongfu brewers are sort of looking, going, but what about rinsing? We're not going to be rinsing the tea. We're just going to keep it super, super simple. For those of you who would like to taste Gongfu brewing but don't have the gear, you can rinse the tea, of course. You could pour the water in here and then bring this over the sink and just pour the water out. You can do that if you'd like, but I'm going to do it without rinsing. So again, I'm going to judge what 100 ml of water is. And again, we're going to be pouring to try and get some movement here. That's about 100 ml. And then I'm just going to cover it with the plate. And I'm going to be leaving it for about 30 seconds, maybe a bit longer because it hasn't rinsed, just to you know, it's going to take a little bit longer. If you rinse it, then you want to reduce your times. But again, I really want to stress the point that this should all be about feel and experience rather than a stopwatch. Please just use your feel and experience. Larger leaves take more time to infuse. Smaller, more broken leaves will take less time to infuse. So I can't give you an accurate time for all of the different tea types. I think that that's pretty close. You can take the plate off, take a look. You can see the leaves are starting to unravel and open up. And then you want to take your strainer and just pour from the strainer, from the bowl, I should say, in through the strainer, into the other bowl. Take your time. No rush. Empty that bowl. You can see the leaves are perfectly happy here for the next infusion. You can smell those wet leaves. Oh, this year's duck shit oolong is really, we've commissioned an extra bake on the duck shit oolong this year, and you can just, it's just accentuated all of the buttery, creamy, almondy notes of the tea. A very, very special tea. And now you have a bowl of tea. You don't have to think about blowing away the leaves. You've got a bowl of tea for you to enjoy. And you've just brewed Gongfu tea with no equipment at all, apart from a strainer. And if you didn't have the strainer, then you would pour it anyway, and just be careful. And you can see that it's not, you're not gonna have a load of leaves falling in. There'll be some leaves in here, but that's not a big deal. Delicious. So you can see, Gongfu Brewing is very, very simple. You can do it with no equipment at all, apart from a couple of bowls and a plate, ideally a strainer. These leaves are sitting, waiting for your next infusion. You can get such joy out of smelling the aroma of these wet leaves. So that's an advantage that you have over bowl brewing. The other advantage is these leaves are now sitting, waiting. They're fixed. They're not extracting continuously like with bowl brewing. So you're going to get more individual infusions this way. You hit them again with hot water whenever you are ready. No rush. They can sit there for minutes, if not hours, waiting for your next infusion. Delicious. Okay, so you've tried Gongfu Brewing, you really enjoy the taste, and you just want some very basic Gongfu equipment. No problem. All you need is a gaiwan. A gaiwan is simply a bowl with a lid. So we're just imitating what we've just had as our setup. A bowl with a plate, a bowl with a lid. It is the most simple but the most delightful way of brewing tea. This is like the lightsaber of Gongfu Brewing. Every single Jedi of tea needs one of these on their shelves. I have done videos all about how much I love gaiwans, why I love gaiwans, and how to pour with a gaiwan, because it does take a little bit of practice. It is a bit of a rite of passage. Once you've passed that rite, you are a Gongfu brewer. Okay, so I've heated the gaiwan already. We've got TEAWARE in here. You're using the same amounts of leaf as I showed you before, because it's the same thing. This is a 70 ml gaiwan, so slightly less leaf, but just take the same guidelines as your starting point, and then depending upon the size of your gaiwan, you can adjust the amount of leaf. Beautiful floral honeysuckle, but also a little bit custardy. Now, we are going to rinse this time. So pouring water over the leaves. And then I'm going to be taking a bowl, since I had one handy, and pouring. This is especially important for ball rolled oolongs. Now, you can brew in a bowl ball rolled oolongs. You can brew in the two bowls like I showed you before. You don't have to rinse ball rolled oolongs, but it is helpful because they are so tightly ball rolled that you need to give them a little bit of that heat and moisture to help them unravel. Let's have a sniff. Oh. Bamboo, sour apple candies. Aloe, it's like young coconut yogurt. Delicious. Right. As you can now guess, all we're doing is the same thing, pouring around the side so that the leaves are agitated, put the lid on, and we wait. Because we've done the rinse, because they've already started to open up, we can shorten our brewing time. If you want to know how to hold a Gaiwan, check out the video link in the description below. But these small Gaiwans, and this is part of our set, this is called the Gongfu Solo set. So you get a towel, you get a cup, you get this small Gaiwan, and this tiny Gaiwan is a great practice Gaiwan because of the fact that it's small. You have more control, you're less likely to feel that it's a bit clumsy. Once you get used to it, you can move up to a larger size Gaiwan. I did not put this through a filter, as you can see, because the aperture control that you can have with a Gaiwan allows you to pretty much catch any large leaves. You get a little bit of dust that hits the bottom of the cup. You can use a strainer, of course. A perfect Gongfu brew. You really don't need any more gear than this if you are solo brewing. But what about if you have some guests over? Well, all you need then is one of these. This is a pitcher, also known as a fairness cup, also known as a Gong Dao Bay. And what this does is it allows you to pour the tea from your lidded bowl, aka a Gaiwan, into the Gong Dao Bay or fairness pitcher, and that evens out the brew so that every one of your guests gets to taste the same strength tea. You could pour directly from the Gaiwan into the cups, but you're not going to get an even brew unless you're very skilled, and that's a particular style of brewing called Chow Zhou style brewing. So I'll quickly brew this for you. This is a heated Gaiwan, so I can smell this Yonggushu 2017, looking aged already. Give this a rinse. Now you can pour the rinse into your fairness cup. That warms up the fairness cup or Gong Dao Bay. You can pour that rinse into your cups. That again warms everything up so that you're not drinking out of a cold cup. And you can choose to throw this rinse in the bowl, in your sink. But if you wanted to, you could get yourself one of these, which is a water catcher that allows you to just pour the tea away very, very simply, and it catches the rinse. So you can see we are now looking like more of a standard Gongfu setup, but you can see hopefully the purpose of each bit of kit. Oh, it is aging. Wow, it has a very wild forest red currants and tangy berries. Very, very interesting. So now we're gonna pour. So we're using the same quantity per 100 ml as when we were doing our 2-bowl brewing and our small Gaiwan brewing. You're leaving the Gaiwan lid on for it to keep the heat in and infuse nicely. And again, you can use a filter if you would like, but I tend to brew raw pour unfiltered because I like the texture of the tea when it contains some of the fine trichome hairs that are on the leaf. So we're going to pour into our Gong Dao Bay. Great thing about having a water catcher is you can be a little bit more free with your pours. You don't have to worry about making a mess or spilling things because the water or the tea is just being caught by the water catcher. And then you can serve your guests. And that is the essence of Gongfu Brewing. You can obviously, It's got like a creaminess, but also like a sappy and sweet tang of chewing on young sugarcane. Really, really lovely. So you can obviously adorn this setup with all sorts of beautiful handmade pots like this Juni here or this Nishing. You can get all sorts of other teaware and kyusus. You can also get tea pets, which act as infusion counters. There's all sorts of lovely accessories that you can build around this setup. But I hope that you see that the trajectory of all of this beauty comes from simplicity, the simplicity of leaf, vessel, and water. I hope that this practical step-by-step tutorial has been useful to you. If you want me to do any more of these step-by-step tutorials, then please let me know in the comments section below what subjects you would like me to cover. That's it, tea heads. Check out our other videos, taste our teas wherever you are in the world by browsing mayleaf.com, and come visit us if you're ever in London. Other than that, I'm Don from Mayleaf. Thank you for being a part of the revelation of true tea. Stay away from those tea bags. Keep drinking the good stuff and spread the word, because nobody deserves bad tea. Bye.